What's up, everyone? Welcome to the second episode of the Cali Kid Official Podcast. I'm your host, Cali Kid Official, and a lot has happened this week, so let's get right into it. Okay, so the second round of the NFL playoffs happened. We had the Titans at the Ravens. We had the San Francisco 49ers at Minnesota, Texans at the Chiefs, and the Seahawks at the Packers. And based off of my picks of last week, I went 1 of 4. The San Francisco 49ers was the only team that I picked who actually came through and won. The Texans, they had the game early on in the first quarter. They was up 24-0, and then once that second half happened, they just completely collapsed and just gave up and ultimately lost the game 51-31, which means that they got outscored 51-7, which is pathetic. I don't understand that. It's like I was so close to getting that one right, and then they just gave up. So in the offseason, I'm expecting a lot of the members of the coaching staff on the Texans to get fired, because I don't see how you just give away a game like that. It's crazy. The offense went to sleep and the defense went to sleep as well. So that was pretty crazy. And then we also had another upset with the Titans advancing into the AFC Championship game by beating the Ravens to a tune of 28-12. It was a pretty impressive victory. The Titans are riding high after beating the Patriots and then after beating the Ravens, both of which were on the road. So next round, we're going to have the Chiefs versus the Titans, and I think the Titans have what it takes to pull it off. Their run reminds me very much of the 07 Giants, how they came in as the 6th seed, just like the Giants, and went to everybody's house and beat them. So I think the Titans have what it takes to beat the Chiefs, especially considering the Chiefs don't have much of a run game, and with the Titans with Derrick Henry as well as A.J. Brown, I think they have what it takes to beat them. So my pick for that game is going to be the Titans to beat the Chiefs to go to the Super Bowl. And then on the NFC side, we also saw the San Francisco 49ers get it done, doing away with the Vikings very easily. But the Packers and the Seahawks game was much closer. The Packers ended up winning by a total of 5 points. And that game was, fought by both sides all the way down to the end. But ultimately, the Packers defense held up and stopped Russell Wilson from, bringing his team back from another comeback. But that was a pretty solid game. So this upcoming weekend, you're going to have the Packers versus the Niners, the Chiefs versus the Titans. And from the AFC side, I'm picking the Titans to win that. And then from the NFC side, I think the Niners have what it takes to beat the Packers, because they faced each other earlier this season, I do believe, and the Niners beat them. So in the Super Bowl, I got the Titans versus the Niners, but we'll have to see if my picks hold up this time around. But moving on from that, we also had the return of Power, or should I say the second episode. And as I said last week, they're taking upon this approach of basically each character that we think might have shot ghosts, they're doing a backstory, which led all the way up to them being put in that situation. And so on the second episode, we get Paz's story, who is Ghost's girlfriend's sister. And so basically it takes us all the way, back. Basically her father getting sick and her son not being able to continue school because he was dependent upon the money from his aunt, and that money is being put on hold because she's caught up in a case with ghosts. And so basically you see Paz scrambling, trying to figure out what to do. And then at one point she sees ghosts. Remember that car that was following ghosts? That was her the whole time. And she actually got out the car with the pistol in broad daylight and was about to shoot at him, but ultimately she decided better of that, and she got back in the car and left. And then her son found out about it, and then he tried to do the same thing, but ultimately she stopped him. And then towards the end of the episode, it's revealed that Ghost left her money to take care of whatever needed to be taken care of because of his will. And then as she's leaving the will reading, she runs into Tasha, who tells her that Tommy was the one that killed her sister, and it wasn't Ghost. And the crazy part about that is Paz had went to Tommy's apartment telling him, I need you to kill the person that killed my sister, who's Angela. And he's like, I can't do that. Because deep down he knows that he's the one that did that. And then when she realizes that, she goes back to his apartment with the pistol. She knocks on the door. She opens the door, and the whole apartment is cleared out, and it basically ends there. So overall, that's a pretty interesting way to to end the season off. Each episode is based around the person accused of killing Ghost. So we got Paz crossed off the list. Dre is dead. And then I think the third episode is going to be about Tasha. So, but we just don't have to see who ultimately did it. I have a sneaking suspicion it's either Tariq or that girl that Ghost was messing around with, the campaign strategist chick. It could possibly be her because he has his hand stretched out like this as if to embrace a person with a hug. So it has to be somebody that's close to him, and those are like the two people I think could possibly have pulled that off. But moving on from that, also in the sports world, the Astros got caught with their hands in a cookie jar. So if you guys don't know, during the 2017 season, the Astros won the World Series title, and there were suspicions that they were cheating. There was videos showing members of the Astros banging on the gates as if to signal what type of pitch or whatever was coming. And ultimately, those suspicions were founded in reality, because ultimately they were hit with a substantial fine. They lost a first round pick, they lost a second round pick, and they were fined $5 million. And then several of the people that were part of the original coaching staff was fired. It says Houston Astros general manager Jeff Luhnow and manager AJ Hinch were fired by owner Jim Crane on Monday after Major League Baseball announcement of discipline following the sign stealing scandal. Let's see what else it said. A league investigation confirmed the Astros cheated by using camera-based sign stealing system during the regular season playoffs of the World Series, won the 2017 season, and during part of the 2018 regular season. So we saw a lot of suspensions from that, and then we get a lot of anger from the players, specifically CC Sabathia of the Yankees, who he felt that if it wasn't for that, they would have beat them, because as he pointed out, the only wins the Astros got were away and at their stadium, not at Yankee Stadium. All of their losses was at Yankee Stadium, and he feels that if they didn't have that cheating going on, the Yankees would have beat the Astros and ultimately went on and destroyed the Dodgers. So in his mind, he feels as though they're the World Series champions, and he says there's nothing that can change their mind. And then we also get some other interesting developments. A member of the actual of that Astros team, the person's niece even says something that says, "I'm told to stay quiet because I refuse. Sorry, Tio," which is Uncle Jose Altuve and Bregman wore devices that buzz on inside right shoulder from hallway video guy. Let's get it all out now. So damn, you even got your niece snitching on you, so they gonna be in some hot water. She says, "I have pictures from the locker I will keep for rainy day. Altuve didn't want shirt turned off, if I remember. Maybe I misspoke, but Chapman gave up home run in game." And so basically you have Beltran's niece telling the whole story too, which was crazy. And then we have this right here. Let me pause it, because there's a video of him running, and it shows him like holding his shirt, telling people not to pull on it.
You asked the teammates not to tear your shirt. Why?
What's that?
Did you ask your teammates not to tear your shirt? Why was that?
I don't know. I'm too shy. Last time they did that, I got in trouble with my wife.
I got in trouble with my wife. He know that line right there. He didn't want him to do that because he had a buzz around his shirt. And then there's like a photo showing like a zoomed in, let's see, where is it at? Right here. Basically in this area, he got like a buzzer thing on his shirt. You can see it right there. So Astros is in some hot water, and all the players is pissed off about it, as well as the fans. Vacate that goddamn title. Just make Pete Rose scandal seem like small potatoes. Lifetime ban here. So yeah, a lot of shenanigans was going on in Major League Baseball this weekend. So I'm expecting more suspensions to be handed out, because so far the only people that have been disciplined was pretty much the manager, the managers of the team. I think Beltran just recently got into hot water as well, because he was a manager. Because he was on that team, and now he's a manager on another team. So that whole ordeal was crazy. And then we also get the return of Conor McGregor. He had a sit-down interview with Ariel just ahead of his bout with Cowboy Cerrone at UFC 246. And my takeaways from the whole interview, he seems like he's more grounded. He seems more level-headed, more focused. It looks like the fire that he had when he first started his career has returned. So no cheap shots thrown. He talked about during the build up to the Khabib fight that he was partying and drinking and stuff, and he wasn't taking that as serious as he should, and he credits that with him ultimately losing, and he says that he's gotten back focused and whatnot. He also spoke about the possibility of fighting Floyd Mayweather again. He said, why not? I want to get into boxing again. He also talked about various investments and whatnot. He talked about lawsuits and scandals hurled at him, like he had some issue with a female. He basically said that all will be revealed in time. He couldn't really touch too much upon that, but basically he denounced all of those accusations thrown towards him. So this upcoming pay-per-view, I'm expecting him to deliver. I think he has what it takes to, get the Cowboy out of there. But the Cowboy always comes to fight, so it should be a pretty good fight. We also had the NCAA Football Championship, LSU versus Clemson, and the Tigers, who ultimately won, was LSU, because it's ironic both teams are named the Tigers, but ultimately LSU won. The game started off kind of slow. Both offenses were filling each other out. It was more of a defensive battle. And then as the game progressed, LSU started to pull away, and ultimately LSU came away with the victory, winning 42-25, and Burrow broke some more college records. So, hats off to him. He had probably the greatest football season in history. I think he threw for like over 60 touchdowns. He had like between 5,000 and 6,000 yards. He won the Heisman as well as winning the national championship. So he had a pretty dope season, but it's more than likely he's going to go to Cincinnati. That's going to give that franchise a jolt, because he's the hometown hero as well. He was born in Ohio, so I'm expecting them to make him their first selection. And then also some takeaways from that victory. We also had a little bit of controversy, because Odell, who's an LSU alumni, was there as well, and he was giving players money. And you know how the NCAA is when it comes to money. They're very anal about anything money related. Some of the players said that the money was fake, and then we had the quarterback come out and say that the money was real, but we don't know what's going to happen with that, because a lot of those players aren't going to be returning. But I'm pretty sure the NCAA is going to try to find some type of way to screw them over. And then we also see some of the players, smoking cigars, and then that brought in the security, who kind of took a bit of an issue with that, and ultimately was like questioning a lot of the players. And then we see a video clip of Odell Beckham slapping one of the policemen on the butt. I guess because he was excited. You know, his team that he played for when he was in college that just won. So he was excited, and it's been reported that a warrant was issued for his arrest because of that, which I'm expecting that to go away pretty soon. I'm pretty sure he's just going to have to pay some type of fine or something. Because in the video, the police officer, it didn't show him arresting him. I mean, like, they spoke, but it didn't show him arresting him. So personally, I think they should just let Odell be Odell. I think because of who he is, people always want to try to punish him or talk about him crazy, specifically in the media. So I'm expecting that whole story to blow over. And then also this week we saw the return of the Crisis on Infinte Earths series, the last 2 episodes. So ultimately, the Green Arrow becomes the Spectre, and then we see the Spectre doing battle with the Anti-Monitor, and ultimately he makes a sacrifice of himself, which helps to create an alternate and new world, and all the infinite universes basically become one. So all the characters that were on different Earths, they're now in the same universe, which they all come to realize. And then we also saw like a special appearance from the Flash, played by Ursa Miller, interact with the Flash on the CW network's character as well. So I thought that was pretty interesting. And ultimately, at the end, we also see the resurrection of the Justice League, and they leave an open seat for Oliver, which is pretty cool. So I mean, it's kind of bittersweet to see, you know, the character that played Oliver Queen leave the show, because Arrow was the first series that the CW had in terms of, you know, the comic TV shows. And then I think after that you had DC Legends, I do believe. DC Legends, or maybe it was a Flash. But I know Arrow was basically like the senior show. And now that the Arrow is gone, they're going to be introducing like the spin-off of that, which is going to be carried by his daughter Mia, and basically the kids that we saw running with her. So that's pretty cool. And then we're also going to be seeing Superman and Lois get their own show. So got a lot of shakeup going on, but ultimately the Crisis, it was pretty cool. It was pretty cool. Also, moving on from that, in music, we see Roddy Ricch get the #1 spot for his album. Please excuse me for being antisocial. And a lot of shenanigans have been going on since it's been debuting at #1. We saw artists like Justin Bieber and Selena Gomez basically trying their damnness to get that #1 spot. We saw Justin tell his fans all the different tricks and maneuvers to manipulate the system into getting his album #1. He was like, "Oh, you can stream the song and turn the volume on low and just have it loop over and over while you sleep," and stuff like that. And then we get a little video right here from Selena Gomez. Let's see what she got to say.
So I just found out that my album is neck to neck with another incredible artist.
You can hear the hurtness in her voice.
That, it's not about numbers for me, but
it's not about numbers for you, but you want that #1 spot, so it is about numbers for you.
I would love for the most important album I've ever released to become #1. So, if you don't mind streaming it or listening to it
they hurt.
platforms, it would mean the absolute world to me. This is, again, something I dreamed about for so long. But regardless, I just hope that you guys are enjoying it and that it's something that you all can just enjoy and have. So,
yeah, she heard.
No worries, either way, I'm happy.
She says it's not about numbers, but yes, she wants her fans to stream it so she can get that number one spot. It's like they're so pressed about Roddy Ricch album being number one that they want theirs to be number one too. And then we see Roddy basically kind of like troll again. He says, "Stream Rare by Selena Gomez, Flames." And he did the same thing for Justin Bieber when Justin started this whole thing. So it's been a rough week from the pop artists. They've been trying their damnedest to knock Roddy Ricch off that top spot, but he put out a solid project and he got that lead single, The Box, which went viral. You had several different YouTubers and other content creators create skits around the song about the way the song was made and everything else. So we'll see what happens with that. But I thought that was kind of funny that that they going through all those extremes to try to knock him off that spot. And then we also see Eminem release a surprise album. It's called Music to Be Murdered By. It's pretty dark and morbid. And we also saw a music video for the song Darkness released from the album. And basically the visual, it opens up with him talking about drugs and the thoughts of someone being alone and maybe that person might be schizophrenic. And then as the video progresses, you start to see that the video isn't about him, although early on it seems like it's about Eminem talking about his personal life, but it's actually speaking about the inner thoughts of the Las Vegas shooter and everything that led up to that moment. So it was pretty crazy. And then at the end, you see him standing in the studio with a bunch of TVs morphed into the shape of the United States, and basically each TV shows a different shooting, and ultimately it's a call to action for gun control. So if you guys haven't seen it, you guys can look it up on YouTube, but I thought it was a pretty interesting MV. And then he also takes some jabs at Lord Jamar, and he also discusses his beef with MGK. He ultimately says that beef is over with, and he said that when he looks at him, he sees himself, but the person that's trying to be him is more corny. And then he talks about Lord Jamar. He says something to the tune of, "You're the weakest link in the group, Brand Nubian." So that whole ordeal is going to continue on. And then we also saw the posthumous release of Mac Miller's album Circles. I haven't had a chance to listen to it, but from what I've heard, it's a pretty solid project. So I think I'm gonna give it a listen. But that's pretty much going to do it for this week's episode. Make sure you guys like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Also, I'm thinking about doing a fan segment part where you guys can submit questions and I'll give you answers or whatever. So I'm thinking about doing that. So if you guys have any questions or anything like that, you can just leave a comment below or hit me through any of my social medias or whatever. But until the next one, peace.
CaliKid Official on the beat.